Incredible twist. Black Maid discovers lost girl in parking lot. Unbeknownst Billionaire's daughter Clara wiped her brow as she stepped out of the Grand Jenkins estate, the air thick with the remnants of a sweltering summer evening. Her 2 shifts had come to an end, and exhaustion clung to her like a second skin. Bills piled high at home, and the weight of 2 kids relied on her shoulders made her feel every minute of this evening's labor. As a maid, she was often invisible, just another cog in the affluent machine, working to polish their lives while hers remained marred by struggle. She glanced at the shiny cars parked around the mansion, feeling a familiar twinge of resentment, each vehicle a testament to the privilege she could never grasp. The crack in the night's facade drew her attention. A small figure stood alone in the flickering light of the lot. Clara's heart skipped. A girl no older than 7 wiped tears from her cheeks, her small frame trembling against the backdrop of luxury. Clara sensed the enormity of being without someone, the choking specter of abandonment whispering around them. As the child's wide eyes met hers, Clara felt an agonizing pull within. Would it be reckless to approach? The girl's fear transformed into suspicion, darting glances toward a sleek black car that screamed wealth, not sadness. What could this child have known of worry? Clara hesitated, her tired mind racing. Could she risk adding another burden to her already precarious existence? But she couldn't ignore the need, the instinct to comfort. With each step closer, the euphoria of possibility battled with the grim reality of her life. Unnoticed, Clara found herself caught in an unspoken moral dilemma. Should she help this vulnerable soul, knowing it might pull her deeper into the web of social disparity she already struggled against? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. She knelt to the girl's level, her hands trembling as she gently asked, "Where's your family?" The child's fearful gaze seemed to betray a deeper truth, one that unraveled the differences between their worlds. Clara's heart pounded as the little girl shrank back, her eyes sending Clara's mind spinning. Should she report the sighting to the authorities? The Jenkins family had already shown their penchant for silencing issues. She could lose her job and her meager paycheck, threatening her ability to support her children. What right did she have to play the savior? Clara took the girl's trembling hand, an inexplicable bond sparking between them amid a storm of consequences and choices. As they made their way to her small apartment, shadows loomed at every turn, tightening around Clara's heart. The media would find out about this lost girl. It wouldn't be long now. The dread set in, and Clara fought against it. She was supposed to protect her children, not drag them into a scandal that could unravel everything they had. Just as they reached her door, the air thickened with a suffocating tension. A revelation loomed just out of reach, teetering on the brink of truth. Clara's thoughts raced. If the world were to learn of the girl's true identity, the threads of their lives might intertwine in ways she couldn't yet fathom. How far was she willing to go to protect this innocent child? Would her sacrifices be enough in a world where power and privilege dictated worth? Clara glanced down at the girl, whose small hand felt fragile in her own. In that moment, the rest of her life faded into the background, reduced to a mere blur of unpaid bills and childcare struggles. Her dedication to her own children stirred a conflicting duty within her. The stark choice ahead burrowed into her mind: help a lost girl or safeguard her family from the intrusive claws of fate. Kicking the door open with a slight nudge of her foot, Clara stepped into the dim hallway of her cramped apartment. The shadows felt heavier than usual, wrapping around her like a wool blanket, suffocating yet familiar. Without questioning further, she ushered the girl inside, her mind a whirlwind of what-ifs. "What is your name?" she asked softly, hoping to anchor this child in a moment of safety amidst the chaos that swirled around them. The girl hesitated for a heartbeat, her wide eyes darting as though searching for the truth buried within Clara's intentions. "Emma." Her voice was barely above a whisper, yet it struck Clara with the weight of significance. Emma. The name belonged to an individual beyond statistics or labels, a child, scared and alone, standing on the precipice of her own narrative. As Clara led her into the small living room that doubled as a breath of home and a cage of limitations, a flicker of determination ignited within her. This wasn't just a lost girl. This was an opportunity to reclaim part of her fading identity, someone capable of making a choice, of standing firm against the world that often disregarded people like them. Clara knelt down, forcing herself to remain calm despite the insidious whispers of doubt that threatened her clarity. "Can you tell me why you're here?" she asked gently, her voice steady. Emma shook her head, her tears momentarily ceasing, replaced by a frown that seemed to age her beyond her years. Something deep within Clara knew she had to push back against the tide of uncertainty. "Listen, Emma, it's okay to be scared. But we need to figure out what to do next." As the girl breathed deeply, Clara felt a rush of regret mixed with renewed purpose. Every moment spent with this child pulled her further from the comfort of her previous routine. Was she prepared to challenge the very system that had kept her bound by her social standing? A tumult of thoughts spiraled through Clara's mind. Where could Emma's family be? What if reporting her was the best choice? If the child belonged to someone influential, would Clara's decision to protect her also serve as an act of rebellion against the constraints of her own reality? As clarity began to unfold amidst the disarray, the fear of consequences shrank in the face of a compelling drive to decide her own fate. "Okay," Clara said, her mind racing, but the shape of her thoughts sharpened. "I'll help you." Every word came from a place of burgeoning resolve, a silent promise that unfurled within her. She felt the daring weight of her vow settle firmly within her core. A sudden urgency struck Clara, sparking an idea. They would not just hide away. They would plan. Clara had spent years organizing her life, creating a semblance of order amidst chaos. Now she could apply those skills for something greater than herself. This was a test not just for protecting Emma, but for reclaiming the strength and capabilities she had buried. But as Clara began to outline her plan, the flicker of hope she felt was dampened by a sharp instinct she wasn't alone in this. Someone would notice this absence. They would demand answers, and Clara would find herself confronting the very gates of wealth and privilege she swore to keep her children away from. As the tension settled back into the room, a new question began to gnaw at Clara. Who would come for Emma? The thought of facing an unknown enemy, likely armed with resources far beyond her reach, left her breathless. The moment of decision loomed on the horizon. Clara knew the walls of their lives were about to shift entirely, but she had promised herself and now Emma. The path ahead wouldn't just redefine the life she understood, but the woman she was meant to become. Determined, Clara glanced out the window at the sprawling city and ecosystem of ambition and despair. The time had come for her to face her own fears, head-on, before they spiraled out of control. Would she accept her new role as protector, or would she retreat to the shadows once more? The answer lay just beyond her reach, waiting to unfold like the dark clouds on the horizon, heralding a storm of challenges yet to come. Clara felt the weight of the decision press against her chest, each heartbeat a reminder of the urgency brewing within the cramped walls of her apartment. A flicker of determination ignited inside her, yet she was no stranger to indecision. This impulse to protect Emma could lead to salvation or jeopardy. Clara had spent most of her life playing it safe, scaling back her aspirations to ensure her family's survival. Yet, in offering a lifeline to this child, she was navigating uncharted waters. Clara's mind raced as she paced the room, the familiar creak of the floorboards punctuating her thoughts. What did Emma's reality look like beyond these four walls? Clara considered her options with each stride. Should she search for Emma's family, or create a shelter within her own? Her instincts screamed for action, but how could she possibly do this alone? Wouldn't uncertainty wrap around her just like the shadows in her apartment? "Let us think this through," she said aloud, glancing at Emma, who was hugging her knees to her chest, eyes darting around as if expecting intruders. "We're in this together." Clara crouched down to meet Emma's gaze. "What do you want?" The question hung in the air, a rare moment of introspection amidst chaos. Emma shifted, tears brimming again, as the weight of her reality punctured the air around them. "I want to go home," she murmured. Clara's heart twisted at the child's plea. Home wasn't a sanctuary for everyone. She knew all too well the burdens that could lurk beneath the surface of a seemingly perfect facade. "We need to find a way to keep you safe first," she responded, bravely seizing the thread of conversation. "We can plan together." They were two lost souls, thrust into a situation that felt larger than both of them. Clara sensed an ability awakening in her, a drive to forge a new path, resisting fate's cruel designs. Grouping her thoughts into an actionable list, she grabbed a notepad that lay on the table, long forgotten. Strategy was her forte, but it was one thing to plan a meal for her children, and certainly another to guide a lost child through an unknown maze of dangers. "Okay, let us lay out some ideas," she said, rallying herself. "Where do we start?" Emma asked, surprise tinged with hope lighting her eyes. "First, we need to hide. We can't allow anyone to know where you are," Clara strategized, her voice steady despite the racing thoughts beneath. "Maybe I can tell them I'm babysitting you. If someone is looking for you, they'll all think you're safe here." "Will they?" Emma's expression reflected a profound burden, as if she were more aware of the world's complexities than most. "Yes," Clara responded firmly, heart racing. "We need to trust this works." She jotted down a few ideas, each letter illuminating her new mission. Lists had always made life manageable, allowed her to reclaim control where chaos threatened. Yet, with every stroke of the pen, she wrestled with the fear of exposure. How would she manage to protect Emma while remaining unseen? This was not simply an act of kindness, but a radical step toward her own reclamation. As the tension mounted, Clara felt a spark of potential buried deep in the crevices of her heart. Her intuition whispered she had skills she had long neglected: organizational prowess, strategic planning, even resourcefulness she hadn't seen in herself for years. Holding on to Emma became a mirror, illuminating her true spirit beneath the layers worn thin by despair. "I can help you find your family," she proposed, excitement tinged with fear. "We'll find out what happened and make a plan." But even as she spoke, doubt crept in. What if their pursuit led to someone powerful? The implications stretched out before her, a tangled web of consequences entwined in their every step. Clara's breathing quickened. The very thought froze her resolve, splintering it with anxiety. "Just know you're not alone anymore," she assured Emma, who nodded, seeming comforted yet still doubtful. Then the realization struck Clara. This wasn't merely about Emma, it was about her too. It was a rebirth, a chance to reclaim her life, to shed the skin of conformity and embrace the uncertainty of standing for someone who needed her. This chapter could rewrite her narrative, and as she contemplated the uncharted territory ahead, she felt the fear morph into an exhilarating rush of determination. But what awaited them outside the walls of this sanctuary? Clara couldn't ignore the storm circling on the horizon, the weight of the unknown pressing ever forward. As she looked toward the window, fear and purpose collided. The path from here promised challenges. Clara knew that for every step forward, there would be obstacles. Would she possess the fortitude to navigate this whirlwind of strife with Emma by her side? As she prepared for their next move, the question loomed: who would come looking for Emma, And what stakes would be revealed when they inevitably did? Clara's days quickly morphed into a blur, each moment punctuated by the urgency of their precarious situation. The apartment, once a sanctuary, now felt like a cage, its walls closing in as she adjusted to the heavy burden of responsibility that rested on her shoulders. One morning, while Emma quietly colored in the corner, Clara found herself staring at the small window where light streamed through a beacon of possibility hidden by her self-doubt. Determined not to let fear unravel her newfound resolve, Clara began crafting an organized strategy. She created a schedule, balancing her responsibilities for her own children with the need to keep Emma secure. She read accounts of other people's struggles overcoming adversity with intellect and resilience, and it ignited something deep within her. Could she be like them? "Let us practice looking for clues," she said to Emma one afternoon, noting her unexpected enthusiasm. "You can help me figure out where we might find your family." Emma perked up, curiosity slowly replacing her hesitance. "Like a treasure hunt?" "Exactly," Clara replied, smiling despite the fear. It was a small victory against the aching reality. They began crafting clues, based on bits of information Clara had gleaned from their conversations. The child had been circumspect about where she lived, but fragments came out: fractured memories of a neighborhood, perhaps hints of a school, details of what her mother wore. As Clara guided Emma through the process, she noticed the way the child's eyes brightened when they pieced together potential leads. It dawned on her this was more than just about actively searching for Emma's family. It allowed Clara to pass on a glimpse of hope, to instill in Emma the notion that they could navigate their way through difficulty. In those moments, Clara was not just safeguarding the child. She was helping her find her own strength amidst uncertainty, rediscovering her purpose along the way. But an unsettling thought kept cutting through Clara's focus. If they were to find Emma's family, what then? Would they be safe? Clara couldn't ignore the ominous cloud lurking on the periphery of their plan. Each could potentially unravel not just their sanctuary, but Emma's safety as well. And that reality weighed heavily on her mind. Amidst the strategy sessions, one reveal left Clara breathless. Emma once mentioned an old neighbor. "She always knew where my mom was," she said. But she moved. Clara could feel the tension twist within her like a taut string on the verge of snapping. The wall seemed to close in, and Clara questioned if this neighbor was merely a phantom of the past, or a potential lifeline. Deciding to take action, Clara devised a methodical outreach to the neighborhood, using her maternal charm to integrate into that isolated world. With her heart pounding, she started a meticulous plan to speak to the tenants nearby, to learn what others might know about Emma's family, each interaction a test of her previously hidden social skills. It was no small task. The first attempt felt painfully clumsy. Her mask of confidence nearly slipped when her mind faltered under the curiosity of an inquisitive woman. But with each failed attempt followed by minor, painstaking successes, a sense of empowerment blossomed within her. The confrontation slowly molded Clara into a persuasive advocate who could mentor, guide, and even support Emma emotionally in the moments of vulnerability. "I think I'm getting the hang of this," she admitted to Emma one night after a brief but significant exchange with a neighbor had elicited understanding glances from young mothers about Emma's difficult circumstances. "Can I help?" Emma beamed, her spirit reignited by Clara's bravery. "Yes, I think you can," Clara responded, realizing that their collective journey was transforming them both into who they were meant to become. But just as Clara's optimism grew, an unsettling report of a child missing from the area surfaced in her findings, like a dark omen puncturing her hopes. How would they navigate this storm when the questions at their heels grew more complex and dangerous? The perfect balance of newfound competence began to teeter unevenly on the edge of dread, and Clara felt the familiar claw of anxiety. "Are we sure they want to find us?" Emma asked, the tremor in her voice slicing through Clara's resolve. The moment struck, What if navigating forward meant facing the very enemies they feared? Clara realized they couldn't hide forever. The notion of running stopped feeling like merely an option and morphed into a suffocating necessity. What lay ahead, standing between them and any form of resolution, wrapped in shadows and uncertainty? With that thought leaving her insides roiling, Clara prepared to take it to the next level. The time had come to confront the truth and embrace whatever ruthless challenges awaited her. Emma's well-being depended on it. What would Clara discover about herself as she braced for the impending storm? And what role would fate play in the intersection of their precarious situations? Clara woke the next morning to a faint echo of uncertainty resonating in her chest, the image of the missing child's face etched unceremoniously in her mind. As the sunlight filtered through the curtains, bathing the room in a soft glow, she clung to the flicker of resolve that had propelled her thus far. Today, more than ever, demanded clarity and purpose. With Emma's cheerful humming in the background, Clara set to work, meticulously outlining the day's plan. They would revisit the neighborhood with renewed vigor. This time, instead of approaching strangers with vague inquiries, they would arm themselves with specifics-tailored questions that stemmed from Emma's fragmented memories. They needed information about the neighbor, who might still hold the key to unraveling the enigma surrounding her family. "Emma, what do you remember about your neighbor?" Clara prodded gently as she prepared breakfast. "She had a really loud laugh," Emma replied, her brows slightly furrowed as she struggled against the tangle of memories. "And a lot of plants. I think she had a cat. No, wait, it was a dog." Clara's heart raced. Every detail mattered, and Emma's descriptions began to paint a clearer picture of the world that had been lost to her. If this neighbor had indeed been a link to Emma's past, Clara felt a responsibility to elevate the child's memories to the forefront, each fragment a potential lifeline amidst the chaos. As they ventured outside, Clara felt the weight of both expectation and fear heavy in her stride. The streets were alive, children played, parents engaged in lively chatter, but beneath the surface lay a chilling sense of fragility. The neighborhood might house both allies and threats, an ambiguity that jangled her nerves as they approached their first stop, an elderly couple's home with an inviting garden. The couple welcomed Clara and Emma with warmth, their countenance a stark contrast to Clara's anxieties. She felt her early forays into social interaction had prepared her for this moment, and she willed herself to engage fully, to absorb their stories, and glean whatever insights they might share. While Clara asked about the neighbor, the elderly man squinted, thoughtful. "Marilyn? She was a gem. Moved out about a month ago to be closer to her daughter. I think she went to." He paused, wrinkling his brow. "Oh, the place upstate? Just outside the city." Clara's pulse quickened. "Upstate? That could be their beacon of hope or their next challenge. Do you have her address?" she asked, her voice steady, revealing none of her internal tumult. Yes. Just hold on." He rummaged through a drawer, producing a scrap of paper. As he handed it over, Clara experienced a rush of adrenaline. This revelation was a tangible step closer to unraveling Emma's past, a venture wrapped in the allure of the unknown. "Thank you so much," Clara exclaimed, gratitude lifting her spirits, a sweet balm against her growing anxiety. Emma bounced beside her, oblivious to the layers of worry that still twisted within Clara. As they walked back, both elated and daunted by the next leg of their journey, Clara wrestled with the implications. What if this Marilyn was unaware of the turmoil that had engulfed Emma? Or worse, what if she was unwilling to help? This uncertainty posed a moral dilemma. Was it right to intrude into lives that had moved on without a backward glance? But as they approached their apartment, Clara's battered confidence flickered in response to Emma's contagious spirit. The child had begun her own quest for agency, and Clara felt an intensified need to protect that burgeoning selflessness. She realized it wasn't just about finding the child's family. It was about cultivating Emma's sense of security and identity. Clara's decision crystallized in that moment. They would reach out to Marilyn together not just for Emma's sake, but to forge a bond that could support them amid their fears. With Emma beside her, an innocent courage igniting possibility, Clara felt the edges of her self-doubt softening. A new chapter awaited them, one that could illuminate the dark corners of their shared existence in ways neither could foresee. As she breathed in deep, determined hues of hope, a thought struck Clara with an urgent intensity. What if confronting Marilyn led to new dangers, not just for Emma but also for her? As she prepared for the impending reality of that encounter, Clara sensed the storm was just beginning. With questions rising like a tide, Clara emerged from her introspection, prepared to brave the path ahead. What would happen when she reached Marilyn? Would their confrontation spark healing, or would it summon the very chaos they're fighting to escape? Clara stood at the crossroads of decision, her heart thrumming with uncertainty, as they returned to their apartment. The address in her pocket felt like a ticking clock. Each moment that passed brought them closer to confronting the unknown. With Emma by her side, her small hand clutching Clara's, she felt an unshakable mix of anxiety and resolve. In this journey, they had grown dependent on each other, weaving hope into their painful quest for truth. Later that afternoon, Clara found herself pacing the small living room, an internal struggle waging war within her. Every second she spent contemplating their next steps only fanned the flames of her rising doubt. Was tracking down Marilyn really the best course of action? Would it help Emma reclaim her memories, or fracture whatever fragile connection they had built? The unresolved nature of their mission weighed heavily on Clara's mind, just as the chilling wind howled outside, battering against the windows. "Maybe we should just," she began, but Emma's excited chatter broke her thoughts. "Oh, can we go look at the park after?" Emma asked, her eyes sparkling at the prospect of adventure, oblivious to the turmoil within Clara. There was something exasperatingly pure about a child's unwavering hope that tugged on Clara's heartstrings, reminding her of the responsibilities resting on her shoulders. Clara caught her breath, forcing herself to stay grounded. "Yes, we can go to the park." But oh, the juxtaposition. While Emma dreamed of swings and laughter, Clara wrestled with nightmares. "No!" Emma suddenly declared, a spark of indignation brightening her face. "We need to find Marilyn." The certainty in the child's voice snapped Clara out of her spiral. It was a reflection of what Clara had hoped to find: purpose. In that moment, she recognized that her hesitation was not just fear. It was a manifestation of her own vulnerabilities holding her back. Would her desire to shield Emma from pain echo her own unhealed wounds? "Okay," Clara allowed, feeling both dread and admiration for Emma's conviction. Perhaps it was time for her to act, to model the courage she wished to cultivate in Emma. For too long, Clara had viewed their pursuit through the lens of loss, instead of embracing it as a venture for growth. Suddenly galvanized, Clara grabbed an old GPS device, although unsure of how long it would take to get to the address. The thought of navigating unfamiliar terrain stirred even more anxiety, yet she felt an uncontrollable pull toward taking that leap. "We'll leave tomorrow morning," she announced to Emma, her voice steady. "Can we get ice cream?" Emma piped up, excitement lighting her up like a bonfire. "Sure, ice cream sounds good. But first, we prepare." Clara grabbed her notebook and began drafting a set of questions. She needed a plan, and this time she wouldn't falter. What if they found not just Marilyn but answers? What if this journey empowered both her and Emma to confront the reality of their situation, rather than escape it? The fear of failing washed against her, a push and pull that left her shaken. That evening, as they shared their ice cream, an unexpected thought crossed Clara's mind. What if this confrontation with Marilyn revealed connections that had been hidden, bits and pieces that could change the narrative of their lives? The mystery around Emma's disappearance was heavy with darkness, and Clara couldn't help but wonder if those very shadows contained the light they desperately sought. But the weight of the unknown also pressed heavily on her heart. Would digging into Marilyn's life expose Emma to further emotional turmoil? As Clara tucked Emma into bed later that night, she felt the fine line separating courage from foolishness closer than ever. What if Marilyn didn't welcome their intrusion? What if she closed the door on the very healing they pursued? With those questions still swirling in her mind, Clara lay awake long into the night, crafting not just solutions, but reaffirming her commitment to Emma. Their journey was no longer merely about seeking answers, it was about growth, resilience, and discovering the bonds that could redefine their lives. As morning light broke, Clara steeled herself for the day ahead. Would they find Marilyn at the address? And if they did, what truths would be unlocked, and at what cost? The quiet anticipation morphed into a palpable tension as she whispered to herself, this moment could define them both. Tomorrow, they would discover not just memories, but also perhaps the real meaning of their intertwined fates. Little did she know, the stakes were about to escalate in ways she had never imagined. The sun pierced through the curtains the next morning, illuminating the room with a soft glow that felt both comforting and ominous. Clara held the GPS device in her hands, its plastic surface cool against her palm. She could almost hear its mechanical voice guiding them toward the unknown. Today would not be just another day. It was a rehearsal for courage. "Are you ready, Emma?" Clara asked, turning to see the little girl pouring cereal into a bowl. Emma's face was a canvas of innocent determination, the remnants of childhood dreams clashing with the weight of their shared quest. The way she looked up at Clara, a soft nod accompanied by a mouthful of cereal, filled Clara with unwavering resolve. After breakfast, they gathered a few essentials and set out. The car ride was peppered with Emma's light-hearted chatter, but Clara's mind was a storm of uncertainty. What if Marilyn wasn't there? What if they were walking into a situation neither of them could handle? Each possibility flared like a firework, scattering her focus. "You okay, Clara?" Emma's small voice cut through her spiraling thoughts. "Just thinking," she replied, forcing a smile. As they navigated the city, Clara felt herself shift from being a passive observer of this journey to its active participant. She recalled the moment she had realized her own vulnerabilities held her back, and now, the desire to protect Emma solidified her intent to confront those very fears. Arriving at the location felt surreal. The building stood tall and imposing, an echo of a life Clara couldn't fathom intersecting with their own. With trembling hands gripping the steering wheel, she paused, catching her breath. What would she say? Would her questions come tumbling out, or would fear silence her? "Clara!" Emma exclaimed, snapping her back to reality. The girl was already unbuckling her seatbelt, her small frame radiating enthusiasm that made Clara smile despite her unease. "Okay, let us do this," Clara said softly, matching Emma's spirit, needing to channel that energy to fuel her OWN. As they approached the main entrance, the sunlight flickered against the glass facade, casting a kaleidoscope of colors that made Clara pause. She had always believed that clarity emerged in the light. But standing here, it felt more like stepping into shadows, where knowledge could be as painful as it was liberating. The receptionist greeted them with an expression that balanced professionalism with intrigue. Clara hesitated, searching for the words that had been rehearsed countless times in her head. Instead, she found herself caught in a moment of vulnerability, as the reality of their quest echoed back at her through the receptionist's curious eyes. "We're here to find Marilyn," she finally said, forcing the words past the lump in her throat. Despite the simplicity of her tone, uncertainty clouded her heart. "Do you have an appointment?" the receptionist asked, her demeanor shifting into something more guarded. "No," but Clara's voice trailed off as she weighed her next words. Was this approach too confrontational? She could feel the doubts creeping back in, but Emma's soft tug on her sleeve anchored her. "Don't we just need to talk to her?" Emma piped in, her bright spirit cutting through Clara's reservations. The receptionist studied them for a moment, her skepticism softening. "Wait here," she finally said, turning to the phone behind her desk. Clara's heart raced. This was at the pivotal moment they had been waiting for. The pulse of anticipation sparked as they were ushered to a small waiting area. Here, time became elastic. Seconds stretched into eternities as Clara created a mental chart of every possible outcome. Failure loomed large, yet so did hope. "Clara, do you think Marilyn will really help us?" Emma's bright eyes searched Clara's face, as if seeking reassurance that her dreams could manifest as reality. "I hope so. But if she doesn't, it's okay. We'll figure it out together," Clara replied, but the gravity of her words deepened under the weight of potential rejection. A slight click echoed down the corridor. Clara turned. The door opened, and a woman stepped out, the air around her charged with an unspoken authority that could not be ignored. Clara's breath caught. Unbeknownst to them, the encounter was likely to repeat the cycle of doubt and determination embedded in their journey. As the woman's eyes fell on them, Clara felt the gravity of her own choices filling the space between them. What implications lay behind this meeting? Could this be the beginning of clarity, a pivotal moment that would unravel what they had yet to discover? "Clara?" the woman asked, her voice both a recognition and a challenge, dangling the key to their fate precariously before them. Clara realized this was not just a meeting, it was a test of her resolve. The moment of truth had arrived, echoing her fearful anticipation. Now, she needed to confront whatever lay ahead. Clara's pulse quickened as the woman's gaze bore into her. Marilyn. The name resonated deeply within her, a name etched with promise and peril. Clara's inner dialogue surged. Would she be the oracle who guided them through turbulent waters, or the stumbling block that shattered their hopes? Step forward. The thought echoed in her mind like a heartbeat as she took a shaky breath, grounding herself in the moment. "Yes, I'm Clara, and this is Emma," she said, feeling the tremor in her voice yet somehow finding the strength to meet Marilyn's penetrating gaze. "Why do you need to see me?" Marilyn's tone was measured, but Clara sensed an underlying intensity. It was a question laden with implications, requiring not just an answer but a confession of vulnerability. Clara felt the weight of her insecurities itching beneath her skin. "We were looking for guidance. For help." The words felt inadequate, yet they were all she had. Did she even know what she truly sought? She was overwhelmed by that very question. Marilyn studied her for a suspenseful moment, then nodded, an eerie calmness settling in. "Come in," she said, stepping aside to allow them entry. Clara's breath hitched as they followed her into the sterile confines of the office. In stark contrast to the anxious energy outside, the room was immaculately organized. Each item meticulously placed, from a wall lined with awards to an assortment of books that spoke to both intellect and achievement. Clara felt a sinking sense that she was an outsider among giants. "Sit, please." Marilyn gestured toward two chairs facing her expansive desk. Clara felt the gravity of the situation pressing down on her shoulders. What if she was not meant to be here at all? As they settled in, Emma's hand found Clara's, a silent anchor in the torrent of her swirling thoughts. She could sense the child's trust, a reminder of why she had embarked on this journey. What if the outcomes blurred the lines between what was right and wrong? Clara stole a glance at her, an embodiment of innocence, and renewed her resolve. "What exactly do you need help with?" Marilyn prompted, her expression softening yet remaining enigmatic. Clara hesitated, weighing her words carefully against the backdrop of her insecurities. She has some unique challenges," Clara started, her instincts pushing against the urge to shield the truth. "I want her to have opportunities, to not feel limited by her circumstances." The admission felt raw, laid bare before this stranger. Marilyn took a moment, her eyes narrowing thoughtfully. "You're worried about the future, then?" It was less a question and more a statement of understanding. "Yes," Clara admitted, the admission scraping against her throat. "I've always felt like there are obstacles I can't surmount. Emma, she deserves more than I could provide." "More is a relative term," Marilyn replied, her voice steady and confident. "What is it that you believe limits your reach? Where do you think the fear originates from?" Clara swallowed hard, her heart pounding against her ribs. She had never confronted her demons so openly before. "It's always been embedded in me, a fear of failure, of inadequacy. It's hard to imagine breaking free from it." As the words hung in the air, Clara felt the weight of vulnerability overtake her. This was not merely about Emma, she realized. It was a reflection of her own internal struggles. Marilyn leaned in, her expression sharpening. "But you're here. You've taken this step. That in itself is a victory." Clara considered this. Was the act of seeking help a sign of weakness? Or was it a testament to resilience? A small spark ignited within her. A flicker of understanding change required more than just will. It needed action. "Tell me," Marilyn continued, "what do you envision for yourself and Emma? What would success look like?" Clara opened her mouth, but nothing came. No vision, no dream she could articulate amid the chaos of self-doubt. As she grappled with the silence, she felt a flutter of determination rising. "I wanted to break the cycle. To believe that it's possible to create a future filled with choices, not limitations." The firm nod from Marilyn sent warmth through Clara's veins. "Then let us explore how you can empower yourselves to claim that future together." In that moment, Clara understood. This meeting could be a turning point, an opportunity for growth. Yet, the specter of uncertainty lurked still, waiting to engulf her if she faltered. "Can you do it?" Marilyn posed, her eyes on Clara, layered with unspoken challenges. The question resonated like an anthem of personal reckoning. As Clara looked into Marilyn's expectant gaze, she confronted a kaleidoscope of emotions. Could she truly take hold of this moment, however frightening it felt? Perhaps the rhythm of change had already begun, but was waiting for Clara to acknowledge it fully. Just as her resolve solidified, a sound filtered through the walls, a commotion echoing down the familiar hallway. Clara's heart skipped. Was it a sign? Her thoughts raced. She could feel the weight of her past colliding with this possible future. The tension in the air thickened as uncertainty curled its fingers around her resolve. "What was that?" Emma asked, her voice breaking the charged silence and pulling Clara back to the present moment. And then, without a preceding warning, the door swung open again, and a young boy stumbled in, panic etched across his face, pale and breathless. "Is she here?" The urgency in his voice pierced through the stillness, leaving Clara breathless with anticipation. What lay ahead could unravel everything she had just begun to confront. Clara braced herself, knowing this unexpected turn could change everything. Everything inside Clara shifted as the boy burst into the room. His frantic energy disrupted the fragile equilibrium that had settled between her and Marilyn. Clara's heart raced not just from the urgency in his voice, but from the unwelcome reminder that her pursuit of a better future was now intertwined with unexpected chaos. Emma squeezed her hand tighter, sensing the undercurrent of uncertainty. "Who are you looking for?" Marilyn asked, her authoritative presence commanding a quick response even as the tension thickened in the air. "My sister?" the boy exclaimed, his eyes wide and glistening with unshed tears. "She was supposed to be at the park, but she didn't come home. I'm scared something's wrong." Clara's instincts kicked in, mingling with her fears. The gravity of the situation propelling her into another mental state entirely. "What is her name?" Clara asked, her voice uncharacteristically steadfast. "Bella," he replied, wiping a filthy hand across his cheek, smudging a mixture of dirt and tears. "Okay, we're going to help find her," Clara assured him. She felt propelled by a blend of determination and maternal instinct. But as she spoke the words, a knot tightened in her stomach. What if she couldn't provide the help this boy needed? The specter of inadequacy clawed at her resolve, but the pulsating urgency in the boy's eyes reminded her that she had transcended her own struggles. Here it was vital not just to facilitate change for Emma, but to extend her hand beyond her own needs. "Marilyn, do you have a contact with local authorities?" "We need to expand the search," Clara said, forging her way through the internal chaos swirling within her. "Right away," Marilyn replied without hesitation, reaching for the phone with practiced efficiency, her demeanor a stark contrast to the whirlwind of Clara's thoughts. Clara turned back toward the boy, shifting her focus entirely to him. "Can you tell me where you last saw Bella?" Her tone was gentle yet firm, urging him to articulate the details that might guide them. "In the playground. She was playing with some friends," he said, a hint of embarrassment creeping into his voice, as if he felt he was somehow responsible. "I was supposed to watch her, but I got distracted." "Hey," Clara interrupted softly, kneeling down so that she was eye to eye with him. "It's not your fault. You're doing your best. That's what matters now." The weight of her own doubts and fears began to lift, replaced by a sense of clarity. In the face of this childish panic, she discovered a new layer of compassion within herself. She had always imagined strength as stoicism, an unwavering front against adversities. But now, it was unfolding differently. Strength was in empathy, in connection. With Marilyn on the phone, the room felt charged with purpose. Clara pulled out her phone, offering it to the boy. "Let us share your sister's photo with everyone we can. Can you show me what she looks like?" Minutes passed like hours as Clara coordinated their efforts, outlining a plan to mobilize the search. Each step felt like a stroke of rebirth. The act of aiding someone else cultivated an unexpected growth within her. She had come to this meeting seeking guidance, yet here she was becoming a beacon of hope, leveraging her newfound clarity and determination. But just as the boy began to feel the comfort of her support, Clara's phone buzzed. A message flashed across the screen, causing her heart to freeze. "I know what you're looking for. Meet me at the old warehouse on Maple Street." The revelation felt like a knife poised at her throat. It was a dangerous invitation, tempting her to delve deeper into a web she didn't fully understand. Should she pursue this lead, potentially risking everything she had just begun to reshape? As she stared at the screen, torn between the urgency of finding Bella and the darkness lurking beneath the surface of that message, Clara realized a decisive moment loomed before her. To take action could mean unearthing more than she anticipated, a confrontation not just with external threats, but an inevitable reckoning with her own fears. "Clara?" The boy's voice brought her back, eyes wide and pleading. She took a deep breath, weighing her choices as time slipped through her fingers. The journey to empower not just Emma, but this desperate boy, would demand every ounce of strength she had. It was time to confront the unknown head-on. "Stay with Emma," Clara instructed, her voice steady despite the storm gathering in her chest. "I'll be back." With renewed focus, she stepped toward the door, ready to face whatever awaited her on Maple Street, knowing this could determine not just the outcome she sought for Emma and the boy, but for herself as well. What revelation or terror would await her in the shadows? Clara's heart raced as she opened the door to her future, uninvited but necessary. Clara stood at the edge of the derelict lot, the old warehouse looming above her. Its shadows felt like ghosts of the past, whispering doubts and uncertainties. But beneath the layers of apprehension, a newfound strength surged within, fueled by the urgency of purpose. She had stepped into this moment not merely to help Emma or the boy searching for his sister, but to reclaim a power she had long believed was out of her reach. As she approached the entrance, Every step was a testament to the woman she had become, no longer a passive observer in her life, but a decisive force. The faded paint and chipped metal doors reflected more than just decay. They mirrored a life she could have slipped into, weighed down by fear and routine. Clara shook off the shiver running down her spine, mentally reminding herself of the promise she had made to Emma. Inside, the dimly lit space was silent, a stark contrast to the noise swirling in her head. She scanned the area, her senses heightened, fully aware that challenges awaited her. The moment felt sacred. The threshold she was about to cross could change everything for herself, and for those vulnerable lives she now fiercely protected. Will they come to see me as a risk or an ally? She wondered as her heart thudded like a drum announcing her arrival. Pushing through her trepidation, Clara wandered deeper into the warehouse. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the murk. A man, hardened features, and a menacing aura, stepped forward, shadowy and unclear. "You got my message," he said, a bone-chilling grin curling on his lips. Clara steadied her breathing, summoned all the confidence she could muster, and met his gaze. "Yes, I'm here for the girl," she asserted, her voice steady despite the anxiety curling in her belly. She had come too far and faced too much to back down now. The man stepped closer, sizing her up. "You think you can handle what you're about to uncover?" His words struck her, a challenge woven with a hint of mockery, but she stood firm. "I've seen enough darkness to know that I can either cower in fear or confront it." "I choose the latter," Clara replied, her voice imbued with determination. Each word poured from a well of confidence she had only recently tapped into. For a brief moment, his expression flickered with intrigue. "You're feistier than I expected," he said, breaking into a smirk. "Tell me what makes you think you're ready for the truth?" Clara felt the weight of her answer in the pit of her stomach, but it emerged with clarity. "Because I'm not just fighting for myself. I'm fighting for Emma, for a little boy who needs his sister back. I've learned that my struggles are not barriers. They are the very foundation upon which I stand to build something better." The man regarded her, the tension in his posture wavering as he considered her words, perhaps even feeling the gravity of her conviction. "You realize the consequences could be dire," he warned, though a hint of respect edged into his tone. "I'm aware. But I would rather face danger than remain complacent," Clara asserted. "I am not afraid to take risks. I've already lost so much. I refuse to lose anything else without a fight." The man nodded slowly, the mockery dissipating from his demeanor, giving way to an unexpected seriousness. "Fair enough. Let us talk." As they plunged into conversation, Clara began piecing together threads of information that spiraled around Emma's past and the circumstances leading to this moment. It was disorienting, yet exhilarating, a clear path unfolding in real time. And though the underlying threat of chaos still loomed, she felt an undeniable shift in her spirit. She could do this. Her purpose had sharpened into focus. After a tense exchange, Clara left the warehouse not with just knowledge of Emma's past, but with a concrete plan to propel both their futures forward. Clarity emerged from uncertainty, blossoming like wildflowers in a field, vibrant and powerful. She could feel herself standing on a precipice, transformed by courage, solidified by resolve. The streets felt different as she made her way back, imbued with purpose. Each step was heavy with the weight of undeniable determination. Clara had taken back her narrative, harnessed her fears, and stepped into a newfound identity fortified by authenticity and bravery. When she finally returned to Emma, she knelt down to meet the child's expectant gaze. "We're going to make things right," she assured her, her voice a hushed promise. "We have a plan." Emma's eyes sparked with hope, the tension melting away as she wrapped her arms around Clara. "Together, right?" she murmured, her faith tangible. "Together," Clara echoed, the word resonating like a powerful anthem of resilience. As they embraced, Clara felt a profound sense of accomplishment wash over her, a realization that this journey had not just been about saving Emma or helping others. It had been about reclaiming her own identity. She had proven to herself that she could conquer the shadows threatening her light. Clara stood firm now. The woman who stepped out of the Jenkins estate 2 worlds apart was no longer just the invisible maid. She was a protector, a mentor, and most importantly, a warrior of change. With newfound clarity, Clara knew she was ready to navigate whatever challenges lay ahead, not just for herself, but for the children who depended on her. Now, let us go find Bella, she thought, heart ignited with purpose. The journey was not yet over, but she had rewritten her story, one of resilience, strength, and unwavering determination to protect those she loved. Clara strode forward, unyielding and empowered. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share. Only true fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.